Hi everyone, thanks very much for dialing in for the next version of our podcast, HR Untangled. Before we get into the podcast itself, I just wanted to leave a quick message to update on some changes that have been made to the Employment Rights Bill. And the true fluid nature of the Employment Rights Bill, this was done after we recorded the podcast. So the one that we want to update on is the unfair dismissal and the qualifying period. In the podcast, we'll talk about that being under discussion still and probably not until 2027. In reality, you've probably seen this on the news already, but the government have changed that. They've brought it forward until 2026, and they've also confirmed that there will be a 6-month qualifying period. In terms of who that applies to, it will only apply to people who've been employed since the 1st of July 2026. So now is the time to get your probation periods in place and make sure that you're really managing those new employees well. I hope you enjoyed the podcast and see you soon.
Welcome to HR Untangled, real HR talk for business owners. In our last podcast, we talked about HR basics, but this time we're taking things technical and we're going to untangle the Employment Rights Bill. Helen, where should we start?
I'm going to say untangling the Employment Rights Bill is quite a loaded statement in itself. Mm-hmm. So I think we could probably do a podcast for a day or so on the Employment Rights Bill. Mm-hmm. I mean, when it first went into Parliament for discussion, it was about 20 pages, now over 300. There's a lot of pinging and ponging between the House of Commons and the House of Lords, and they can't agree on certain points of it. But I think what we'll do is cover some of the main points that I think that are relevant to the type of businesses that we work with. Yeah. And I think one of the things that we're seeing from a lot of employers is that a lot of employers are in a mild state of panic, thinking that these things are coming now, and actually that some things are already in place, and that's not actually the case. Most of it, and as we work through the main points, most of it is sort of 26, 27. There's a couple of things in sort of the next 6 to 12 months, but other than that, some of the main changes around unfair dismissal are much further out. And I think when the Labour Party launched their manifesto about, I forget what it was called originally, but it's now called Make Work Pay. Yeah. And the aim of the Employment Rights Bill was to make benefits, I think, more accessible, or employment benefits, if you like, more accessible to those that are on lower income and benefit those lower income households. There's also been statements about that they think it's going to have minimal impact on employers. I think most of the employers that are probably listening to this podcast will disagree with that. And the financial impact, I think, is just it's too vast to quantify at this stage. Yeah. So it's quite an emotive topic for a lot of business owners, and one that's quite complex even for us as HR people to keep track of. Just when we think that it's we know what's happening, something changes, and it's like, oh yes, I haven't seen that. Oh right, okay, that's what it is now. So we'll have a look through some of that.
So what are the main topical areas then that are going to affect the majority of companies?
I think the first one we've got on the list is statutory sick pay.
Sick pay, yeah. So it's the removal of the 3 waiting days. Mm-hmm. That is the main topic.
Yeah.
On that. So whereas now, if you are kind of sick and you haven't got company sick pay, you wait 3 days before you get a payment from that. But that is going to be removed, and it's going to be a day one right for the individual.
Yeah. There's also the removal of the lower earnings limit as well to qualify for statutory sick pay. Yeah. So again, I think looking at it from an employee's perspective, for those people who are, dare I say, genuinely ill, it is a benefit, and it's a good thing to do. Yeah. But it does unfortunately open up
more employees to fall within the statutory
I'm trying to be careful how I say that.
Entitlement, absolutely.
Yeah, it does, yeah. So, so those that are on lower earnings, they would get, I think it's 80% of their normal pay or the statutory sick pay rate. But the removal of the 3 waiting days is quite transformational.
It is, yeah.
And that's coming in April 2026. So that's on the cards, that's confirmed, that is coming. And I think that what employers can do to try and prepare for that is, basically get your attendance management up to date. Yeah. It could be introducing a policy. It could just be introducing return to work interviews, making sure that people are reporting their absences, and really again, without sounding too negative about it, making it as difficult as possible for those employees who aren't genuine with their absence.
Yeah.
You know, if people are genuine, there's no problem, and you know, and they've got the right to to pay for that. So yes, I think there's a lot employers can do to try and get that. What I mean, generally speaking, what would we recommend is covered in a return to work?
Yeah, it's having a form. So when that employee is back on site, is back in the place of work, is meeting with that individual, you know, asking them, you know, are they okay? Are they fit to return? But also noting down the reasons that they were kind of off. And then so you can see a pattern, if there is a pattern forming as well.
Yeah. Because I think, you know, again, very small employers, you know, saying you have to do a return to work interview sounds terribly formal and a little bit maybe a bit scary, I guess. But return to work interviews can just be a very informal chat covering those areas. You know, is this person ready to come back to work? Is there anything we need to know? What do we need to do to help you?
Yeah.
There can be a positive thing that so yeah, and that's certainly really good practice.
It is, and it kind of can also set a bit of a deterrent.
Yeah.
You know, to being off again.
Yeah.
You know, for those employees who may not be genuinely ill. Kind of thing.
Yeah. It's interesting actually. It's one of the points about where people report absence to.
Yeah.
So most companies, in fact, a lot of the companies that we work with, when we do the contracts for them and talk about absence, will say that you can't report through text message or any sort of messaging because it's almost very easy to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you know. So actually, most employers or a lot of employers want people to ring them and speak to them.
Office, yeah.
And then we have some few giggles about the types of voices that people put on when they're reporting absences.
Sick voice.
Yes.
We've probably all done that at some point. It's because you feel as though you should sound sick, I think. So that's statutory sick pay. So that, like I say, that's
a big one coming in.
Yeah, and again, interesting what the government is saying about, you know, the minimal impact of to employers, because, you know, statutory sick pay, again, a lot of employees don't realise that statutory sick pay comes out of an employer's profit pool.
Yeah.
You know, they used to, I think years ago, you used to be able to claim it back.
Yeah,
But you can't now.
No.
In fact, quite recently I was with a client and we were talking to some people at their place that had absence issues. And one of the guys, he was pretty aggressive about it. You know, he was very upset that he was being talked to. And he said, well, you don't pay me anyway. And I said, well, you get statutory sick pay? Yeah, but you don't pay that. I said, no, we do actually. And he genuinely thought that him being absent didn't cost the business anything. No. You know, never mind the manufacturing upset that particular role was causing. And so it's just interesting people's perception of statutory payments as well, and that it does actually come straight from the employer's pocket. Yeah, and that's difficult, and that's something that needs to be really carefully managed. So.
Yeah. So the next one, 0 hours contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one coming in, isn't it?
Yeah. There's still a lot of chat about this one as well, isn't there?
Yeah, they haven't quite nailed it down of kind of what they're going to be doing. So I think the government does want to kind of ban the 0 hours. You know, people being guaranteed the work if they're doing the same hours after so many weeks or months, a period of time. But I think there is going to be that opt-out clause for individuals who are just quite happy on the 0 hours. You know, it fits in with their lifestyle. It might be their second job. So I think there is going to be an opt-out clause for those individuals that actually are quite happy with, you know, the 0 hours they're doing.
Yeah, because I think there is a place for 0 hour contracts.
There is, definitely.
Yeah, and I think, you know, originally when the Labour government started talking about it, they wanted to ban them completely, or, you know, there's certainly that's the impression that they gave. But I think the term that they use is ban exploitative 0 hours contracts, which actually we're probably all in favour of, because we shouldn't be exploiting anybody.
No.
But there is absolutely a place for 0 hours contracts, and a lot of employees, like you say, like them.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there is going to be special considerations that they are kind of still working on for those who are on seasonal contracts, you know, like it is going to affect them.
Yeah.
As well.
Christmas working and
those who may be April to November in the tourist industry. So I think there is going to be special considerations that they are kind of still thinking of regarding them.
Yeah, and the opt-outs, it's a bit of a change from again what they said originally, because originally it was kind of like you will give hours, or you will, if somebody's working regular hours, you will give them something, or you give them a pattern, a work pattern.
It is,
But actually just now, I think they're recognising that not all employees want that.
No.
You know, I can think of plenty of examples. There's one client that I work with, and they've got one person on a 0 hours contract, and he's specifically like, I'm happy. I'm retired,
Yeah.
I'm flexible, I don't want any more than this. You tell me when you need me, and if I can do it, great, and if I can't. And there's absolutely a place in the in work for that sort of approach.
Yeah.
And I think giving regular hours or the forcing of regular hours is probably going to, if you think about there's a retired workforce who just want a bit of something,
Yes.
then that suits them,
Yeah.
or for any other reason. So that's the 0 hours. And like you say, the exploitative 0 hours, I think is the right term. So I think we're all in favour of that, and that's. I think I've read somewhere as well that some of the changes they're saying will extend to some agency workers. So that's something for us to keep an eye on. But again, we're talking about all these things, but actually we haven't really got anything definite.
No.
Statutory sick pay, yes.
Yeah.
But everything else that we're talking about, we're still very much
Undecided.
Yeah, it's still very much in the mix. So I think it's important not to take for gospel what we're saying right now, because that might well change. So in fact, it's changed even since we first started planning the podcast, hasn't it? So yeah.
So then unfair dismissal.
Yeah, big one.
I think they still haven't quite decided. So originally Labour are focusing on the day one right. It then went to the House of Lords. They said they wanted a 9 month kind of probation.
Like a light touch.
9 months. Then it went back to the House of Commons and they said, no way, we want day one rights. Then it went back to the House of Lords. And then at the minute, they are sitting on the 6 months.
6 months.
Light touch. But now the House of Commons are still saying day one rights.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a stalemate, actually, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the article we were reading about it, they said that it's not wholly unknown for some legislation to ping pong like this between the House of Commons and the House of Lords. And I think it was the Rwanda Act, I think, was the last one, because they literally couldn't agree. But they will agree eventually.
Yeah.
But it just shows how contentious it is. And again, I think actually a lot of employers think this is already in.
Yes.
And it's not, we're talking 2027.
Yeah, at the earliest.
And that's, and at the earliest, and that's soon enough, I think, because employers really need to
be prepared.
And have their procedures in place.
I think so as well, because, we look at the current waits for the tribunals. How long is that now?
Yeah, absolutely.
And adding this day one right in is just going to open up potentially the floodgates for employees and
the tribunals are already completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, they can't cope, can they?
Yeah,
So.
it doesn't stop cases going through, but it but there is long waits for people, and it's so they feel like they're adding to that really. But again, thinking about it from the Labour manifesto perspective, they want to put it in the employees' favour, and again. I have no problem at all with looking after employees, against unscrupulous employers.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't do is protect employers from unscrupulous employees. Yeah. And we can probably all think of examples when we've seen them. Yeah. It is. It's a real challenge. But I think, in preparation for this, some of the what employers can do is make sure you've got a probation period in your contract.
Yeah. Make sure you use it.
Make sure you use it, absolutely. Yes. Years gone by, probation contracts were usually 1 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Nobody knows now. Nobody knows in 3 months whether somebody's suitable.
Yeah.
So the probation periods of probably recommend 6 months as a minimum. I've actually seen one employer recently who has a 12-month probation period because that suits the type of work that they do. But you're quite right about managing them as well. We see that a lot, don't we? People ring up and say, I've had this person that ended probation and they're just a bit rubbish. Yeah. We're like, well, have you ever told them? No, they've been with 6 months, but no, they've been rubbish from the start.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So probation period management is key.
It's key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you've been doing some of that lately with
I have,
one particular client.
Yeah, it's been going really well. It's a chance for the manager, to sit down with the individual and, get it from both sides. Is the job right for the employee? Is the employer right for the employee as well? It does work both sides. It's not just from one side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not the right job for them, is it?
Yeah, no. And unfortunately, it's not going to work in the long term. So it is that difficult conversation to have.
I think it's being honest with employers and for the employee to be honest. And it's that open dialogue about how's it going, what do you need? And I always use that term of the best chance of success.
Yeah.
We bring somebody in, recruitment can be expensive in terms of time and cost. So we bring somebody in, how do we give them the best chance of success? Yes, we talk about training and we show them what to do, but actually what's it like? Do they feel welcomed? That, is everything going well for them? Are they too scared to say, I need something a bit more? So
I think it is when this does come in the day one or, after 6 months kind of thing, I think it is going to change how a lot of people recruit and making sure they have the right person for that job and for the company.
Yeah.
I think it is going to change how we recruit.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, again, employers need to think about, isn't it? Is that robust recruitment of, how do you make sure you get the best person? And we don't always get it right, but, but what do we do to, again, give ourselves the best chance of success? Making sure that we're, protecting. But again, that's one, it's going to be an interesting one as that works through. But there's definitely going to be something. I mean, I'd like to think I can't see that they would just have a day one right and nothing around that. I just can't see that would be agreed.
It wouldn't be beneficial to anybody, really, would it?
No. Well, again, if you think that you could have somebody who joins a business with bad intent, because that is sometimes the case. They're a headache to their employer. The employer has no other option but to terminate their contract.
Yeah.
They go straight to claim. Imagine all the people that are doing that just to, just to try it. I personally couldn't be bothered,
Especially
sounds like hard work. I'd rather just do well, but
especially in some kind of industries, where your turnover is quite high, not because of anything, but it's the nature of the business.
Yes.
Like production, manufacturing, the low level kind of skill jobs.
Yeah.
And, you might have somebody turn up for the induction morning, go on the factory floor, and it's not for them. So then they go AWOL for a few days.
Yeah.
And you get rid of them.
And you've got to dismiss them because they've gone missing. Yeah.
But then they have a right to
yeah.
think about it from that point of view.
Yeah. There's got to be some boundaries around that. There's no way that we can have that from day one. It just, it would just seem...
crazy,
dangerous. So but like I say, 2027 we're looking at for
the earliest.
So, but I think with the ping ponging that's going through Parliament right now,
and is that a major point that they're stuck on at the moment? Then, that's the major one.
It is absolutely. They just they're at the stalemate. They can't agree. So, but something's going to have to give. Somebody's going to have to
back down,
back down, or find a way through it. Certainly, Or I don't think it would be just completely abolished. I think it's gone too far for that. But this is certainly a sticking point. But I think probation's going to be the key, certainly.
Probation recruitment.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So then family leave.
Yes. Yeah. There's been a few different changes coming up with that.
Yeah.
So we've got paternity leave from day one.
Yeah, so currently 26 weeks.
Yeah.
The 26 weeks at the 15th week before the baby's due, if I'm technically correct.
So that's going to be quite interesting because you could employ someone and day one they could say, well, I want paternity leave now.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's the same for maternity right now, isn't it? So I think it's bringing all the sort of family leave into the same the same time
so
frame.
It aligns. Yeah.
I mean, for an employer, paternity leave, you're talking 2 weeks, so it's less disruptive than somebody having an absence for a long time. But it's
changes.
Yeah, it is. And I think, like I say, I think it's good for employees to to have these things available to them. I do think that's a good thing. So, and then we've got unpaid parental leave.
Yep.
I was like, what's the next one? Unpaid parental leave. Yeah. Yep. So unpaid parental leave currently, you've got to have a year's service before you can do that. And is it 18 weeks, 13 weeks up to the 18th birthday with the child? Yeah. So it's unpaid time off. It has to be time to spend with the child, just not unpaid time off where you leave your child at home and go on holiday. But again, that's going to be a day one right. So there's a real common theme about day one rights for employees. And I wonder if that's recognising as well that people don't stay in jobs as long now.
No, they don't.
I think
talked about turnover of staff.
Yeah.
But yes, I would agree that from recruitment that we've done recently, there's been a few candidates who I don't want to say job hop, but have
they move about a bit.
So they move, so they learn the job and then they move on either to progress or for something different.
Yeah.
So
I think working a lot in Cumbria, with clients in Cumbria, I think Cumbria is a funny little pocket.
It is.
In that people want people to stay and they want somebody to stay for 10 years or 5 or 10 years. Whereas actually if you move into some of the bigger cities, then 2 years, 3 years is probably a max, and it's quite acceptable for people to move around. So I think that's an interesting it's an interesting angle, I think, for maybe some of the changes and why they want to reduce some of these things. Because if you think about unpaid parental leave, having to have a year's service, you know, and then you've, you know, it might take, you can only take, I think, is it 4 weeks a year?
Yeah.
So actually you're never really going to get
all of
your
your
weeks
leave.
in. Yeah. So maybe there's a bit of that, as well as recognising the way that people work now and that it is different. And it's okay, I think, for people to move around every 2 to 3 years. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And like you say, they get some really great experience as well. They can move on to employers. Yeah. And then I think the final one that's on we've got is bereavement leave, which actually I think's probably the more radical of the three, because the others are a little tweak to the time, but this one really is about compassionate leave. And compassionate leave at the moment is a gift from an employer. Some employers do it, some don't. You know, most do it where they can, because humans are, you know, we're human and we want to treat our employees well. But the introduction of bereavement leave is quite radical, and it's really that legal right then to time off. The bit that I like about where the legislation is at the moment is it's about a bereaved person, but there's actually no definition yet of what a bereaved person is. So we're all probably bereaved at some point, and you know. I think the only thing they're not clear, they have been clear about, is that it doesn't extend to loss of animals. Because I certainly would be bereaved if my cat passed away, or when my cat passes away, I will definitely be bereaved. But whether I'd qualify for bereavement leave, I'm not
So what sort of examples do you think they're thinking about for bereavement leave then? Are we thinking parents, siblings?
I think they're trying to define that.
Yeah, extended family.
Yeah, but with blended families, you know, I think that's incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
And actually why a lot of employers don't have a definition necessarily in their policies, even if they've got a compassionate leave policy now, they might not have a definition. Because, you know, how do you know, people are brought up by different family members. Yeah. You know, and I think, certainly in the time that we've been in HR, I've seen all sorts of examples of that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's going to be one to watch of actually how they try to, because again, I don't know how they define that easily.
No, I think as well, you're like caring for neighbours as well. Like a lot of us will have elderly neighbours, and you know, the caring responsibilities of this generation. I think that's kind of going to be affected in it as well.
Yeah, but how do they, you know, if you've got I don't know, a stepbrother, stepsister, how do you define, you know, I think there isn't a clear definition of in life generally of if you have a brother or sister, some families you'd be devastated if you lost them, other families actually are estranged and you don't see your brother and sister that often. It's, you know, I just think that's really complex to try and define, and that's probably why there isn't an idea of what the definition is yet. Because how do they do that if we can't really think of one here? You know,
how they're going to.
Yeah, it's like, you know, do you have to get signed by your doctor to say you're bereaved? Who knows? It's, that might be,
That would be quite difficult.
That's going to be difficult, and I think the GPs aren't going to go for that, I don't think. Yeah, but again, it's going to be difficult. And I think it's a good example of how knowing your team's really important. Because actually, if you know your team, you understand a bit about their family dynamics.
Family dynamics are, absolutely.
And what, you know, and potentially what that might look like. And again, I think if you know your team well, you'd like to think that if somebody was on the way to passing away, that you'd know about that.
Advance notice.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but if somebody passes away unexpectedly, then you know you can't deal with that. But yeah, it's going to be.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, so I feel like we're saying it's going to be interesting because we're still waiting, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's so much that we're still waiting for, and you know where the legislation is now is very much at the point where they want to give the whole bill royal assent. But then there's a whole lot of secondary legislation, which we believe the consultation's already starting on that actually. But that will then map out the detail. So we've got loads more still to come. You know, so even when this receives royal assent, which it will at some point, probably in the next month or two, or you know,
probably after the budget, won't it?
Yeah. So once it receives royal assent, then it's an act. Yeah. But there's so much more detail. You know, we're talking over 300 pages now. Yeah. How many pages is it going to be by the end of it? So there's a lot still to come, an awful lot still to come.
And then we've got sexual harassment.
So where do we start with this one?
Well, it's been in a year now since it came in October 24. Yeah. So I think they're adding on to the Act, and now it's going to include third parties. So it's not just obviously your employees, it's who your employees come into contact with. So it's supply chains, customers, any workers that will come in to do work in your building or anything like that. It's the third kind of your third parties that you have to protect and show steps that you are kind of protecting them from.
Yeah, so it's the obligation on the employer to prevent sexual harassment. And the way that the legislation's been since October 24 is that an employer's got an obligation to take reasonable steps.
All reasonable steps.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it's going to change to all reasonable steps. I really like things like this because it's dead like it's like one word that changes everything.
Tiny different.
So actually, from October 24, employers should have things like either a sexual harassment policy or a dignity at work policy where sexual harassment is included. And we tend to do that because that, I'm not a fan of having policies for policy's sake. Sometimes a single policy on that is too much. Ideally, they should be training their staff on what harassment might look like. How to respond to harassment, how to report it, and what the procedure would be as well. So so again, I think there's the obligation is going to increase, and I think that will just continue. The dial on that will continue to turn over years. I think we're not done with this at all.
No.
Things like I think it's going to be also become a protected disclosure under the Whistleblowing Act as well. So at the moment, if somebody whistleblows, and it's generally something that's in the public interest, so it might be a breach of health and safety. If they've got then protection against victimisation or being dismissed because they raised a whistleblowing allegation. So and sexual harassment is going to be included in that. So there's actual specific protection from people raising those types of allegations. And I think I've read somewhere as well about actually non-disclosure agreements can't be included, sexual harassment can't be included in non-disclosure agreements moving forward unless the employee specifically asks for it to be included. So that's going to be, that's going to quite radically change. And rightly so, we shouldn't tolerate any sort of behaviour like that. No. But the bit about third parties is... that broadens it. I mean, goodness me. Yeah. I don't know how many clients I've spoken to and said, well, we don't have any issues. Everybody gets on fine. There's nothing. And I'm like, but think about who do you work with? Who do you
supply chains, customers.
Yeah. And it could be somebody on the phone. Doesn't have to be in person. No. It could be somebody ringing up your customer service person and asking for their number. Can I take you out? Can I whatever? So it's a bit of a minefield. And I think that again, if we think about it from a very practical approach, employers can't stop the behaviour.
No.
All they can do is take reasonable steps to prevent it. Or all reasonable steps is going to be. But the important thing is that when employees do experience some behaviour they're not happy with, they know what to do about it. They've got the confidence to do something about it straight away. And I think in the Act as well, it's going to extend to protected characteristics and not just on sex. So protected characteristics has been around for quite a long time. In fact, the Equality Act 2010, without getting nerdy about the law, but I'm old enough to remember actually when the Equality Act 2010 came in, and it mopped up all the other discrimination legislation. I do specifically remember that, sad as that is.
So can we name them all?
Probably not. So there's 9, I think, isn't there? So there's 9 protected characteristics. So
age, disability, gender, sexual orientation, religion, got 5,
transgender,
gender
reassignment. Sorry,
gender reassignment. Marriage
and civil partnership. We said pregnancy. Yeah. What have we missed?
Race.
Of course, and race actually includes your nationality as well. So it's not just
Oh yes, absolutely.
So harassment's going to be a big topic moving forward, and you can see that in what's happened with goodness me, all these Me Too movements and everything that's it's worldwide, isn't it? It's not specific to our country, but I think the important thing is that employees should have the right to come to work and not be harassed.
Absolutely.
We should be operating with dignity and respect towards each other all the time. That for me is a given. It is. It's that's going to be another one to watch. So training employees. I actually did a session with I think it was 50 civil engineers on sexual harassment, which was great because it was a local company actually, and I thought they were very forward thinking in really taking the bull by the horns and saying actually. this is right
Yeah.
for us. They hadn't had an incident. There was nothing that prompted it other than they wanted just to be good
Understand,
practice.
yeah.
And what was really, I actually enjoyed the session a lot because there was a lot of dare I use the word banter.
Yeah.
It's like a HR person's nightmare, but it was good. And there was a real age mix of people. They were predominantly men, because civil engineering predominantly is. Shouldn't necessarily be, but that's just where it is. But actually, they were very receptive to what I was saying, and and really did take it on board. So I thought it was very forward thinking of the company and brave, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine that there was a few eye rolls when they got the invite, So, but it was good. It was good fun to deliver.
So other changes in the Employment Right Bill? Introduction of the Fair Work Agency.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so this actually is in April next year as well, isn't it?
At the moment it is, yeah.
Yeah. So, so we attended an employment law update because obviously we have to keep our eye on the ball as well. And what was, when we talked about the Fair Work Agency, it was kind of who's it going to be? When are they going to recruit the people? What actually are they going to do? How are they going to be funded? And again, lots of questions not answered. This is scheduled for April 26, and there's a lot of questions not answered yet.
Yeah.
But the idea with the Fair Work Agency is that it will take a bit of pressure, I think, off the tribunal system. We talked before, didn't we, about the tribunal system being overwhelmed. But the Fair Work Agency will, I think, if we think from an employer's perspective, a lot of employers would have had, certainly in Cumbria, there's been a lot of national minimum wage checks from the HMRC.
Quite recently as well.
Yeah, the Fair Work Agency is a, sort of an equivalent of that, but for things like, are you paying holiday pay? Are you paying statutory sick pay? And they'll enforce some of those rights. And when we had the session on it, they said, that they will have the powers to impose financial fines on people, a bit like the HMRC do. So that's...
It will be good if it comes off.
If it comes off, There's been, I forget what was the other one that the government introduced and then retracted. It was about getting people back into work, wasn't it?
Fit to work.
Fit to work, that was it. Yeah, was that the Fit to Work Agency?
Something like that, yeah.
So common theme with names.
Yeah.
Some sort of agency. But actually that was introduced, wasn't it? A good few years ago now. With the idea that there would be this agency who would get people back to work. But it very quickly fell away and just fell over, really. So it would be
interesting
to see what happens with this one, But again, one for employers to watch as well, because if they get something from the Fair Work Agency saying we're coming to inspect you, then we need to be ready for that.
Yeah.
So yes.
So next steps for employers.
First one for me is don't panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot coming. But as I say, there's very little actually imminent.
Yeah.
And I think most of it will probably fall closer towards end of 26 and into 27.
Yeah, the earliest.
Yeah. And there's the one thing a lot of people don't understand as well is there's two common introduction dates for law. Generally April and October in a year.
Yeah.
So there won't just be stuff every month.
No.
If we get to April and there's nothing being said, we're good.
It's going to be October.
And probably if we get into sort of July and there's nothing being said about October, we're probably good until April next year. So I think don't panic. And I think if you think about some of the topics we've covered, it would be really manage your employees. If you manage your employees well, you do your probation reviews, you do your return to work, so you're sort of just managing them in that day-to-day management. A lot of these things that are coming in won't have the impact. They just won't. If we're already managing people out of the business in a fair way, even if people try and claim, we've got our defence already there. Because people can claim now.
They can't they?
From day one, people can claim discrimination if they really want to. So, but if we've got our house in order, so that I think the thing for me is don't panic, but get everything in order and do things well. Be fair in the way you treat your employees now. So, anything for you, Zoe? That was
probably just have a refresh of your policies and just to see what you are doing and what you have in place, and maybe just some retraining.
Maybe thinking about pain points that you've got.
Yeah.
Talk to us about them and we'll help you with them. Yeah. We like a good pain point.
Yeah.
We like a good challenge as well, actually.
Good.
Okay.
That's a wrap for this episode of HR Untangled. Thanks for joining myself, Helen and Zoe. Join us for our next episode, which will be Right to Time Off. In the meantime, take a look at our website for more information on Dawson HR and how we can support your business. I'm Nina. This has been HR Untangled.